Hello you guys, welcome to the Peace, Love, and Happiness Club YouTube channel. We are Seattle's only premium collector plant store. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be showing you a couple propagation methods to quickly multiply some of your favorite houseplants. All right, so getting started here, you can see that I've got this beautiful Marble Queen pothos here in a 6-inch hanging pot. This is a variety that we tend to keep in stock here at our stores for their easy care and really eye-catching foliage. When you start noticing your plants are getting a little bit leggy or overgrowing your space, it is the perfect time to propagate. So today I'll be chopping these lower vines here just to get it a little bit more uniform with all the growth up here at the top. At the base of each leaf, you'll find a little nub there. That point is going to be the node. That node is what we're going to stick in whatever media we choose to root the plant in, and from that point, the plant will produce its new roots and new growth. So we're gonna wanna cut about 1 inch back from the node for our first cut here. So you can see at the base of that leaf, we've got the node, and then about 1 inch back from there, we'll snip, and we have our first cutting. This first cutting is what's referred to as the top cut. This cut will likely root the fastest and start pushing out new growth before the rest of your cuttings, as it already has that new growth point established. Now, a mid-cut is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cutting taken from the middle of the leaf. Now, when we're taking a mid-cut, we want to be careful not to leave too much of the inner node. The inner node is the space between the two nodes on the plant. This part of the plant will not produce any new growth, and so if we leave too much of it, it will likely rot in the process of the plant rooting, and that rot can then spread to the node and ruin your propagation. We'll just make our first cut. And there we have it, our first mid-cut. You can see there's adequate space on either side of the node to prevent any rot. So occasionally when you make a cutting, you'll have quite a bit of excess inner node here. As you can see, this part of the plant here will not root or produce new growth. So if we leave it in the media for too long, it will likely rot and then spread to the part of the plant that is viable for new growth. We're gonna leave about 1 inch on either side of that node there. This piece of the inner node, you can go ahead and toss. It won't do anything for you. So after cutting those first couple of leaves, we've now reached a bare node. So there is no leaf here. However, this part of the plant still can produce new growth. So we'll once again go ahead and cut about 1 inch back from either side of the node, discarding of this inner node piece here. And there you can see, we've got ourselves a nice node here to propagate from with a active growth point as well. So while you will get lots of new growth from the cuttings you just took, you should also keep an eye on the plant that you took the cuttings from in the coming weeks, as they will likely produce new growth points as well. When you cut the plant back like this, it's sending lots of energy down those vines. So once you chop it back, it's still sending that same amount of energy to that vine, which will help it produce those new growth points. All right, so the first method of propagation that I'm gonna show you guys is using sphagnum moss here. We sell this here in store, mixed in with a little bit of perlite for extra aeration and drainage. This is the perfect medium for rooting your plants in. I would say it's definitely my preferred method. Now, it's really important when you're propagating that you don't use too large of a container. If you use too large of a pot, that soil's gonna stay too wet for too long and will increase the likelihood of your plant rotting. So today we're gonna be using a 2.5 inch pot to root these single leaf nodes in. Now you can totally use just plain tap water, or adding a little bit of fertilizer or Super Thrive will also help add a little bit of nutrition to your plant while it is working on rooting up. So going to make sure this moss is evenly moist. The ideal sphagnum moss moisture level for propagations is going to be something similar to that of like a moist cake. You don't want the sphagnum soaking wet, and you also don't want it to dry. Next, we'll go ahead and grab our first cutting. And what we're gonna do is place just the node in that sphagnum. You don't want too much of the petiole of the leaf in there, as that part of the plant won't root. And if you're keeping it too moist, you run the risk of it rotting and falling off. We're then just going to gently wrap it up like so. Just creating a nice little ball there. Just burying the node and allowing the petiole and leaf to stay out. Next, it's as simple as just grabbing our little 2.5-inch pot here, sticking the plant and moss in there. You don't want to pack it too tight, as you definitely want some airflow through there. And just like that, we have our first propagation in moss. All right, now moving along to our next propagation method, and probably the simplest is going to be just using straight up soil. So here I've got coco coir with a little bit of perlite in it in a 4-inch pot. Now, using a slightly larger pot is all right if you're gonna be sticking quite a few cuttings in there, which is what I will be doing today. Very similar to the sphagnum, you don't wanna bury too much of that petiole or leaf into the soil. You just want to stick the node in the top inch or so of the soil. Just gently pressing it down in there. You want to give a little bit of space between your cuttings to allow the plants to breathe. Then with our top cut, you can sort of just stick it straight in there. And just like that, after adding a couple more cuttings, we will one day have a beautiful full pot of Marble Queen pothos. So over the course of about the next 1 to 2 weeks, we're gonna wanna keep the soil evenly moist, maybe a little bit more moist than you would keep a fully established pothos. You can water using just straight up tap water, or using a slightly diluted fertilizer solution, or a little bit of Super Thrive will work really great. Moving on to our last propagation method, and probably my favorite propagation method, that is going to be using water. So we're just going to fill up our little containers here with, once again, either just regular tap water or a diluted fertilizer solution. With our containers filled with water, it is as easy as just sticking your cutting here into the water. Same deal, you want to avoid sticking the leaf or the petiole in there, as they won't root and are likely to rot if they're sitting in the water there too long. I really like using water to propagate because it's super easy to check on the roots as the plant grows out. All right, so that concludes our propagation tutorial for today. As I said, you want to give these guys about 1 to 2 weeks to fully root up and start producing new growth. Of course, every plant differs and it depends on your environment, so patience is key, but using any of these 3 methods, you should have lots of success multiplying your houseplants. It's a really great way to fill out a larger pot or share with your friends and family. So I hope you guys enjoyed this propagation method, and I wish you the best of luck in all your propagation endeavors. Peace out, you guys.